Is this as awkward as it always is?
Always.
Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Allie. If you're new here, welcome back. If you are not, I'm so excited that you're here. We have a very exciting and unique video that we are doing today, and it is a weekly reading vlog, but as you can tell by the title, it is a weekly reading vlog with my good friend on here, Meet Me at the Bookery. Her name is Andriana. She is Meet Me at the Bookery here on Bookstagram and Booktube. I am so excited to be reading with her. We have very similar overlap in regards to reading genre, but we also have some differences. So this week we are reading from our preferred genres. Andriana loves to read contemporary fiction with elderly main characters, and mine being weird girl lit with dystopian undertones. So we have two books that we will be reading this week, and then we will be meeting up at the end of the week to have a book club style discussion. Right now we are not chatting about ratings or any thoughts. It's going to be a little bit of a surprise, and I can't wait to chat books with her. I'm sure our book club discussion will be on point. But we do have two books that we're reading this week, so let me tell you about them. The first book that we're starting with this week is Good Joy, Bad Joy by Mikki Brammer. This book is a book of the month pick, a springtime release of 2026. I have had this on my radar because my friend Beach Reads by Steph read and raved about this book. She rated it 5 stars, and a 5-star for Steph is usually a 5-star for me. So I'm really excited to get into this. It follows our main character, Joy, who is 89 years old and is helping her friend navigate the end of her life, and her friend being Hazel, who is truly reminiscent of, she is very much Frankie in my head. This is what Hazel looks like. I've started to get into this, but I'm really unfolding their friendship. It dates back to them being teenagers and growing up in a pretty rural town to now Hazel living in New York City and Joy living in Beacon. Hazel kind of chose the path where she wasn't married, didn't have children, and Joy chose the path of being traditionally married and having children and giving up her career to be a mother. They're very different personalities, but seeing their friendship unfurl and depend on and rely on one another as they grow into different phases of life is very interesting, and I can totally see this being a 5-star read. The elderly main character part is so on point for Andriana. I know she's going to love this. So I'm reading this right now while she reads our other pick, and let me tell you about that one. I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Harpman. This book has been on my TBR for I can't even tell you how long. It was first published in 1997. I don't really know much about it besides what I read on the back. I haven't really read any reviews besides the huge spectrum of I read this and I loved it, and I read this and I hated it, or I read this and I don't know what happened. Very differing opinions. I'm excited to read this. It is about women who find themselves in a bunker but don't know why they're there. And that's literally all I know. I don't want to spoil it for me, so I haven't really been reading the reviews. It is a very short book. I believe Andriana said that there aren't any chapters, so that's gonna be interesting, but it's less than 200 pages. I'm excited to get into these two this week. So I hope you stick around for the ride because we're gonna chat books. Been a minute, but let's catch up. I have to tell you about my thoughts about Good Joy, Bad Joy. So I finally finished. It was so moving. I'm going to talk to you while I make my iced coffee. It was just such a moving book about friendship and aging and like the beauty and grief and sadness and joy. Literally, that's like what life is really about. It has been a minute since I've read a book like that really causes you to like pause and just be reflective about like what life can look like as you age, and like what life can look like as you age and your friendships change and you have loss and like you have to kind of navigate that. And I guess this is the first book I've read where like the main character is as elderly as Joy was, where you are really like navigating these life changes through loss and through reflection. So I haven't really read a book like this, to be honest, and it is sitting with me in a lot of ways. I have so much to talk to Andriana about when I see her tomorrow. I'm really excited that we read this book together because I think that she is someone who appreciates books with elderly main characters, and I think that she'll have like a lot of good and positive things to say about this book. I don't know yet because we haven't shared each other's like thoughts on it, but I'm really looking forward to what she thinks about it because there's just like so much beauty in being able to read the same book and have so many different takeaways. I am in my mid-30s and transparently like thinking about whether or not motherhood is really right for me. And I think that listening to Joy's perspective, you know, as someone who decided to take that traditional path and have children young and like married versus Hazel, who was someone who didn't take the traditional path of becoming a mom and wasn't married. Like, I think viewing those two different opinions, and especially as they've come to the end of life and through Joy's marriage and the trials and tribulations in that, it was just a really interesting perspective to read from. And I appreciated the honesty. There's this one point where Hazel says, like, you can be a nurturer as a woman, but just because you're a nurturer doesn't mean that nurturing has to look like being a mother. It can look like fighting for social justice or being a community cultivator or creating like spaces where people who trust and care for you are coming to you and looking for guidance. So it was nice to read about people seeing traits of like motherhood and a nurturer in Hazel, but not equating that to, but she should have been a mom. I also love the relationship between Hazel and Joy's daughter. It's just nice to see a relationship that is kind of like similar to an aunt and a niece, and not in so many words, and just like the dynamic of how they have built trust in one another because of the relationship Hazel has with Joy was really beautiful. All in all, I'm really excited to talk about this. Like I said, I really love this book and I'm so super happy that we read it together. So that is Good Joy, Bad Joy. The next book that I have started today and will have to finish today is I Who Have Never Known Men. It clocks in under 200 pages, so I'm not really worried about the word count, but I tried to listen to the audiobook and I can't because this book has no chapters, which Andriana did mention, but I didn't think about it. Like, it's hard to flip-flop between the audiobook and the physical because it has no chapters, so I think I'm gonna have to stick to the physical or the audio. But I feel like because I'm so easy to flip and flop between, like I think I might have to stick to the physical. So I will be reading that tonight and I will give you my thoughts about it as we read. So stay tuned. The books are finished. We are ready to discuss, and Andriana is on her way here, so let's get ready. We are finally here. We made it. We made it to Friday, and I have my guest, Andriana, from Meet Me at the Book Read, and we have read our book. We're going to discuss I Who Have Never Known Men here on my channel, but after you watch this, make sure you go to Andriana's channel because we are going to discuss the book that we've read, which is Good Joy, Bad Joy. So, what did you think?
So, star rating and general thoughts?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I'm going to give this one 4 stars.
Okay.
Yeah. It's one of those books that I don't normally read. Like, definitely not a genre I'm that comfortable with, but it definitely made me think outside of my comfort zone. Mm-hmm. Books like this, comparing it to, like, Dark Matter, for example, I feel like it's way too smart how I typically think, right? Mm-hmm. So, I don't think I got the entire gist of this book just because I think it's too deep. But I really, really enjoyed it, and it's a topic that I never have read before, and it blows my mind that this was originally written in the 90s.
1997.
That's crazy. I can't believe it, because this feels so futuristic, so the fact that the author wrote that at that point Like, I don't know what time period she was thinking, but this felt like way beyond our years even now.
What time period do you think she was thinking?
It's so hard to say. It's very, I don't know. It could literally be today, just in a world that doesn't exist.
Yeah. Or maybe it exists and we don't know about it.
Right. True.
I also don't like that you're not giving yourself enough credit saying it's too smart for you. You know, you're dipping your toes into like sci-fi and stuff like that.
I try to explore, but it's definitely like an uncomfortable genre for me. Like, I'm trying to understand it a little bit better, even with like Project Hail Mary, for example.
That's what I was thinking of.
All the science talk, whoop, right over my head. Right over my head. But then all of the relationship building was like my favorite thing ever. Yes. So I would say that's kind of similar to this one. Like, the relationship building in here was really powerful, and just learning about the main character, I really connected with her.
I love that you enjoyed this one, because I do feel like it's out of your comfort zone. Even though you did own it, we both owned both of these books, which means that we both intended to read them. Yeah. And I love that we got to read it together because they were both so different. But I literally finished this less than 20 minutes ago, so it's still simmering, but I think my rating is like 4.75.
Nice!
Because I was gonna say 5, but like, you know, I think if I read it again, because I feel like because I was on such a time crunch that I kind of like had to speed through it, but I really enjoyed this, and I think that there's just so much to unpack, because I feel like she had such a filtered experience, obviously, which speaks to like, what would our lives be like if we weren't like impacted by the capitalistic, just crazy society that we live in. If you don't know the concept for this book, it is 40 women who are found in a bunker underground, and they are guarded by male guards. They don't know why they're there, and we don't know why they're there, and then you're kind of like navigating this through all of this stuff that happens in a span of 40 years, which is very interesting. So yeah, I think it is very futuristic. I really enjoyed it. It's interesting that it's coming up now, like, a lot because of the dystopian, like, I feel like we're back in that dystopian era. Disclaimer, we're going to talk about spoilers here. If you haven't yet read it, you can pause and then I'll put a timestamp at the bottom. Andriana made these gorgeous cards because she's such a book club queen. The first question is, the narrator has no name. Why do you think the other women continue to call her the child rather than giving her a name? And why does she not claim a name for herself? Would having a name change how we as readers relate to her? Also, sidebar, I know you don't watch The Mandalorian.
I've never even heard of that.
It's a Star Wars show.
Oh, no.
With Pedro Pascal. Do you know?
I do know.
Yeah, okay. Baby Yoda.
Yeah, it's so cute.
They call him the child in the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so the whole time they kept on calling her the child. I was literally thinking of Grogu.
But he has a name.
Grogu.
Oh, I thought his name was Yoda. Is that...
Star Wars is too much. It's too much. The narrator has a name. Why do you think the other women call her the child rather than giving her a name?
So I think that the one person she connected with, Anthea, I think her name was, that was like the only connection that she really made throughout the time in the book. The other women didn't seem too open to connecting with her to that level.
Yeah.
So I feel like almost that they didn't want to give her a name to have her be a part of the group in a way. I completely agree. I personally would have loved if she had a name. But I think the reason why we didn't get a name is because you don't attach yourself nearly as much if the name was there, right? But I don't think she should have given herself a name because she doesn't have a history of knowing what names are.
It would have been cool if the author gave her a name at the end where she like had already read all of those books and like kind of had some experience and she was able to name herself towards the end. That would have been kind of nice. I feel like she doesn't claim a name for herself because she doesn't even think of that as an option. Yeah. That's all she's known is to be the child.
Well, I guess she does know what a child is. Yeah. But by the end of the book, she's in her 60s. Yeah. And she's still, I mean, no, at that point she's the only one alive, but like, she's still the child. So that's also interesting to think about. Like, she's already lived her whole life and she's being recognized as a child.
Yeah. I mean, it just, I think, speaks to, like, the shelteredness of it all, right? Like, her just feeling so isolated and, like, removed from society.
Would you have connected with her more if she had a name?
I think she would have felt more human if she had a name. I think that there was, like, a disconnect of, like, her being kind of like an alien. Yeah. Which is spoken about in the afterword. Is like, it does kind of seem like a little bit of an E.T. experience that we're having here.
Yeah. I mean, especially because she doesn't have the same types of emotions as the other ladies. So, like, they assign her as, like, I don't know what you would call it, but, like, when the women are sick, she would end their lives because she doesn't know the emotional attachment compared to the other woman who actually had lives before going into the bunker.
Wild.
Crazy.
And it was interesting that she felt a different emotion when she knew that she was ending someone's life that wasn't sick. Because it just shows, like, okay, she still can kind of decipher between what's wrong and what's
right. But she still doesn't.
So, what do you think happened that led to the women's imprisonment? What are your theories about where they are and why?
Okay, so I put this question because I literally have zero idea. Like, I don't have that creative mind to be like, oh, they're here and this is why that there in the bunker. Like, I wanted to know what you thought.
So you don't think it has to do with space?
No. See, my mind did not go there in the slightest bit.
Really?
Not at all. I literally thought that they were, like, in, like, somewhere where a lot of grass and trees were.
Andriana hasn't seen either of these movies, but my mind went to Mad Max, which is, like, sand dune, and then my mind went to Dune, which is also sand dune. I just envisioned, like, very Star Wars extraterrestrial life, so I just assumed they were not on Earth.
The way they were explaining it made it sound that, like, they were just in the middle of a giant field that was never ending. Yeah. So, like, they would talk about the river and the creeks and the trees, and I'm just like, okay, so it sounds like they're in the forest. Where could that be?
On another planet, girl.
My mind doesn't extend that far, because I'm just like, well, we're on Earth. There's trees, there's grass.
It's so rooted in reality. Yeah. I feel like the child speaks to this in some part where she's like, maybe the guards were also being held captive to guard the women. Yeah. I was like, was this all a social experiment to see, like, which could be done on Earth, obviously.
It could. I mean, to your point, if it was done on Earth, they had literally walked and lived for like 40 plus years after that. Like, they were bound to bump into something else, some society or some reality. Like, there's just nothing. Like, it was just a whole lot of nothing.
Did you watch The Village?
No.
Have you seen? Damn, girl.
Never even heard
My
of
media references are not hitting.
Oh, no. I know nothing. Okay.
Question number 3. How would the novel be different if there had been male characters and interaction after they escaped? Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah. My thoughts are she was dying for sex. She was sex starved.
Which is so interesting because she didn't even know what her vagina was.
Literally. Her eruption happened in page 3. So, like, her discovering what an orgasm was and how she could get one was, like, the focal point of the first few imaginary chapters. We have to talk about that. Oh, God.
And even the other women, like, once they escaped, they coupled up. There was even a throuple.
God, yes.
Right?
Yes. Which just speaks to, like, how much humanity is craving connection.
Right.
Like, we're starved.
Yeah. I do think that if there were men after they escaped, though, that this would be a very different story. Like,
how so?
I feel like obviously there would be like a lot of sex, but I feel like there would be a lot of violence as well. I don't think that we would see like the amount of independence that the women had in this book. I think it would be more of a control thing, and it would be, I mean, not that this was like a pretty happy story, but like it would not be a pretty picture.
I think it would bring a lot of violence in the sense that, like, men would feel like the women were there for their purpose. Right. Which I think was, like, a huge part of what this did not lack. Was, like, even just cultivating community. Like, they gave jobs to each other. Yeah. It was, like, such a, like, we're teaming up to do this together. Yeah. As opposed to fighting one another.
Yeah. And it was also very impressive that, like, they proved that men don't need to be there. Like, they were able to figure everything out, live for decades in the wild, essentially. Yeah. I like that.
You don't need no man.
Yeah, exactly. That was basically what I was trying to say.
You do not need no man. This book was first published in 1995 to relatively little fanfare in the English-speaking world and was republished in English in 2022. Why do you think the book has found resurging popularity, and what makes it resonate with modern readers? What language was it translated from?
French.
Interesting.
Is this considered dystopian? Yeah, I feel like that's very trendy right now, so it makes sense why it's really increased in popularity in recent years. But also it's the idea of the creepiness of what could the future look like. This is very relevant.
Very relevant with, like, all of the environmental stuff happening as well, because I think that just their lack of, like, I mean, there was forest and water and all of that stuff, but I do think, like, the environmental impact of what we're doing isn't really something that, like, is brought into books, and I feel like that's kind of, like, hit on in here.
Yeah, for sure.
I think dystopian literature is really coming back. Do you remember when we were in high school and, like, Divergent and the Hunger Games, like, had such a big moment? Yeah. I feel like that is something that has really, like, been hit home. I know you're not, like, a huge horror reader, but, like, I feel like dystopian horror is, like, a big thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Which this kind of has, like, some horror points.
You definitely thought that. You did.
It was scary. I started reading this late last night, and I was like, what's happening?
Yeah. There's definitely an eeriness to the book, so I can see how, like, there's, like, I wouldn't necessarily say horror element, but it is creepy.
Do you think you would survive?
I would not. I'd be out real quick.
I was reading some, like, Reddit threads about this book after I finished it, because it was like, no, before I
was like, bro, you finished 5 minutes ago.
Before you came, I was looking up, like, what are people interpreting this book as, and one of them was, like, intrinsic motivation, and, like, how the child saw what their future could look like so differently than what the women were like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah. She was so motivated, like, teach me how to read, teach me how to do this, like, who knows how long I'll be here.
Exactly.
She had high hopes.
She had high hopes.
Yeah.
If you're a teenager, you feel like more zestful about life versus like knowing what life can look like and how difficult it can be. But I think it also speaks to like your different personalities and how people are just more hopeful than others.
For sure.
But yeah, I think this book will have a long lifetime.
For sure. This might be considered a classic.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. I feel like I can totally see it having so much relevance for so many years to come. Do you wish that Harpman would have explained more of what happened, or do you think the uncertainty adds to the novel?
Did you like the ending?
Do you mean her dying? I actually have to be completely upfront. I knew that we weren't going to find out why they were there. Because I had a friend who read it, and I'm pretty sure she spoiled it for me because I went in. I didn't read the back of the book when we first started reading it. I was just going off of what I've heard about the book. But I do remember her telling me, like, oh, you read this book and you never find out why they're there. And I was like, well, way to freaking ruin it.
I was reading some reviews, like the ones that didn't really have spoilers in them. That's a lot of people were saying that they didn't like how the ending happened. I think they wanted more of a resolution. I didn't, like, obviously I would love to know why they were in the bunker and like all of that.
Yeah.
But I didn't mind the ending. I think it's very full circle that she died in the bunker where she tried to escape way back when. So I just think it's very full circle. But I would love to know why. Like, I'm way too nosy to be like, oh, okay, I don't care why they're there. Yeah. We will literally never know.
We will never know. No. But I think we can make speculation. But then I was thinking, like, on the other side of it, what if, like, they were the only women left in the world? And, like, they were just trying to keep them alive.
But then wouldn't the guards be sleeping with them to procreate?
I don't know.
Because then there were so many other bunkers that they were finding that where there were women and men locked up.
Yes, that was interesting. What was that about?
I don't freaking know. I was so lost the whole time.
Yeah, with the men, I was confused by that one.
Yeah. What was the plan here? I
know. If I get lost in that, I think I don't like the book. If I get too lost in that, then I start to get upset. Like, what are we doing?
Well, now it just pisses me off.
Yes, but I do like the book. That's why I want to reread it, because I feel like there were points of it that probably speak to that.
For sure.
That I missed.
I also just am curious, like, how food can last, like, 40 years. I just don't understand how that's possible. I mean, there's expiration dates.
She had powdered eggs.
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
That doesn't go bad ever?
Space food? I don't know.
I guess.
This is another reason why they might be in space.
Yeah, but, like, can you breathe? That's a stupid... Like, I don't know if that's a stupid question, but, like...
No, that's not a stupid question. I didn't even think about that.
It would have made more sense if they were in space and they were in the bunker and then they were released and then they died. Because then they couldn't breathe. But they went out and just frolicked through the land and they were fine. Yeah. That's why I'm, like, confused. Like, could they not be on Earth? But maybe there's other planets that do have oxygen.
Or maybe they were just in, like, such an encapsulated society. Like a little Avatar or Wakanda situation, you know? Well, actually, Wakanda's on Earth. And you also don't know
I don't know what that is.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you watch Project Hail Mary?
No.
Did you read it?
No.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to ruin it, then.
No,
I'm not ruining it. It's such a good part of the book/movie.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not going to ruin it.
I'm so sorry.
But that's now my thought of, like, maybe they could be somewhere else.
You see? You see?
What did you think of the one chapter?
That was a surprise to me. Did you know that going into it?
Yes, I did, and that's why I was so scared to read it.
Really?
Because I love short chapters.
Me too.
That's why I've been holding it off. This book is actually one of my 12 picks for 26.
Oh, I just want to share. I didn't even know that when I picked this book.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it is. And I, like, knew I wanted to read it this year, but I have been holding off because I'm like, how am I going to get through a whole book with no chapters?
You know, I'm an audiobook girly. And in order to fly through this, I, of course, got the audiobook on Libby, but it was really hard to bounce back and forth between the physical and this. So I read it in less than 24 hours because it was like, I have to finish it. But the audiobook wasn't bad. I don't like no chapters because I also felt like it just spoke to this just being one long run-on sentence.
But I will say, after reading it now with the no chapters, it makes sense to the story because I can only imagine what it must have felt like as one of the women in the group of just, like, their life feels like it's never ending and it's like this continuous cycle of, like, trying to find food, trying to find shelter, figuring out how to survive in this world that they don't know. So that's why it made sense, because I'm like, okay, I'm lost, we're all lost. In this one chapter, we don't know what's going on. And there's even one part where it was still earlier on in the book where we're reading it, and then the author says something like, okay, and 20 years later, and I'm like, whoa, how did we just skip 20 years? Like, I thought we were going to follow, like, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't really expect that to happen.
Especially because there was so much build up to that point where we were, like, slowly taking it day by day. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, she's, like, 40.
It's crazy. Yeah. I was not expecting that, but I feel like it worked in a book with, like, 1 chapter.
I agree. I do think that was, like, super intentional. Yeah. It never felt like it was dragging on for me. Mm-mm. Chapters are good breaks.
Yeah, for sure. Because I did notice that when I would stop reading for the day and I would go back the next day, I'd have to kind of go back and be like, wait, where did I leave off again? But when you end a chapter, you know where you left off.
Exactly. That's exactly what was challenging about it. Because I always have to keep on going back a few pages. You'll see in my vlogs, I'm like, wait, where did I end? Because so many things were happening. And I was like, what did I just leave off on? My additional questions are,
fun.
Would you include this book in a school curriculum? And if so, for what grade?
I think this is such a good book for school. Mm-hmm. I don't, but grade wise, I do feel like, I don't know, that's kind of hard because I feel like the younger you are, the more creative your mind is.
Yes.
But it would have to be high school, maybe mid, because I can't pick between early and late. So probably like 10th grade.
Yeah. We haven't touched on the menstruation part.
Oh my god, yes.
What are your thoughts about that?
I was so confused.
Yeah, I was as well. I felt like it was really interesting that she chose not to have a period. But the author chose for her not to have a period.
Yeah, because then what does that mean? Like, why do we have periods?
So maybe that's the point. The author knows she's not going to have children, so maybe, like, what is the point? And it's so interesting that what killed her at the end was some type of uterine cancer or something like that. What killed her was her womb, and it didn't even work.
I just don't see why she would choose not to give her period.
Yeah.
Honestly, lucky her, because it just would have sucked in that environment to have to figure out.
Rags and how they were describing it. Because it makes being a woman even that much harder.
Do you think that's maybe why some of the women didn't like her too? Because her life was considered easier in some sense?
Maybe.
I really liked Anthea, though.
She was very big sister vibes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I liked her.
Okay, my last question is, does this book remind you of a goal you're working towards right now or want to pursue? And if so, what emotions about the goal did it bring up for you?
Oh my god.
I know, it's very therapist-y of me.
Yeah, because, like, I definitely don't have a goal to live in a bunker. See, I'm thinking very literally.
I think for me, it makes me think about, like, more of life as a whole. Mm-hmm. And I talk about this a little bit in my blog when I'm talking about good joy, bad joy, but, like, transparently, obviously thinking about, you and I have talked about, like, whether or not motherhood is for me. And I think that this really makes you reflect on, like, what parts of family and friends are you, like, bringing into, like, your value as a human. Like, I don't know. I think I took it very, like, broad scale, but, like, I think it just makes me think about, like, my relationships and, like, the people that build my life and, like, make my life as happy as, and, like, whether or not, you know, being a mother would add to that or take away from it.
Interesting. Well, I do think there's a sense of, like, female empowerment in this book. Mm-hmm. So I would love for my future to encompass that to some degree. I don't know in what way it will do that, but to be my own boss or, like, to be strong enough to handle things on my own is the ultimate goal. Like, I don't want to ever have to feel like I have to depend on someone else for anything.
You don't need no man.
I definitely don't need no man.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think that's the epitome of this. It's like, you truly, like, can figure it out by your own intelligence and to, like, never doubt that no matter what your surroundings look like.
Absolutely.
I like it.
I like it.
Thank you for reading this with me.
Thank you for choosing this one.
Oh, it was so good.
I probably would have waited till the end of the year if you did not choose it. Yeah, because it was very intimidating, but I'm so glad. And it's definitely one of those books that's worth discussing with someone else. So
100%.
Yeah.
This would be a great book club.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. It was very, very, like, layered, a lot to talk about, a lot of different topics, especially with friendship. I think both of the books that we read have a lot to do with friendship, and I'm so glad we read them together. Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and discuss Good Joy, Bad Joy on Andriana's channel, so I will link her video down below. But I loved reading with you guys this week. Thank you for discussing with me.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.